Well, good day, C-Dub. How are you?
Hey, Reed Wild. Hello, everybody. It's time for Rock And Roll Confessional. Yes, we are back and back with another fun, cool, exciting episode. What do we got, Reed Wild? Tell us.
The latest episode of Rock and Roll Confessional is with our good friend Gina Iorillo, Corrales. We met Gina at the radio station back in the 90s. She grew up in the music business with her family owning and running the Agoura Ballroom, the famous place in Cleveland.
She worked for Mercury, Polydor Music, and MCA Records, and was the first female vice president of rock promotions of a record company. So, let's do it. Let's hear the interview with Gina Iorillo, Corrales.
I like that, Gina. How are you? You haven't changed a bit.
I know. We all look pretty damn good.
You know,
20 years, you guys.
Jesus,
20 years.
Jesus.
I can't even believe it.
Well, thank you for agreeing to do this. I think the best thing to do is, we'll just pick it up like a conversation. But I think, your whole career, like working at MMS, in that kind of scene, and then going to, the agencies for talent agencies, and then the record companies and all that kind of stuff.
No, it was definitely like my grandparents started the Agoura Ballrooms. So my first gig was working the coat check at the Cleveland Agoura when I was 12. So that's what I grew up. That's where my communion was at the Agoura. That's where my confirmation was. That's where my graduation party was. And this was the Cleveland Agoura on East 24th Street, which was right by Cleveland State University. And underneath it, there was a club called The Mistake, which later became the Pop Shop. So it turned, that's where I saw Iggy Pop. That's where I saw, all the first moshing. Now, I related more to what was going on upstairs, because that's where I first saw Bruce Springsteen. That's where I first saw Gary Wright. That's where I first saw Todd Rundgren, Queen. It just, the fact that I look back on it now and I go, wow, and to this day, I will walk into the Fremont Theater in San Luis Obispo. That's where I saw Todd Rundgren. Then I went and saw Todd Snyder, who I actually ended up, I worked with him at MCA. And then, when I first, the reason I went to see John Waite at the Canyon Club is because of you guys. I was listening to your podcast and John Waite, I go back to the Baby's Head first and, then his solo project, then Bad English. And he played at the Agoura many times. So I 2 days later, I got in my car with Liz Healy, who used to work with me at MCA.
I remember
and
Liz. We
drove to the Canyon Club and saw John Waite, which to this day, the clubs are the best.
They definitely are. Now, is the Agoura Ballroom still happening in Cleveland?
There is one Agoura left. It's in the old WHK building, which was where HK started. And that was I worked for MMS, both owned by Mallrite. But it is not owned by the family anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably Live Nation or some big company that screws you with the ticket prices now.
Let's get into that for a minute.
Oh, we were just talking about, Springsteen in Europe, and I was telling CW that's, I've always wanted to see him in Barcelona and Italy. So, he's going to be there next year. So it's like, I'm looking, couldn't get tickets in Barcelona. It's not over yet because it's, still a year away. But just some of the prices were just crazy for like sitting in the stands. It's like, 400, 500 euros, and it's like, am I going to do this for like how many shows and hotels and airfare and all that kind of stuff? I'm going to do something, but it's just crazy.
It is. It's sad. It's sad actually, because my life, the reason I ended up doing what I did and the reason I met all these amazing people is because I was able to see Bruce Springsteen at the Cleveland Agoura when I was 16 playing in a club. At a WMMS 25th anniversary.
Oh my God.
I mean, so how blessed was I? So blessed. But it was like life changing. And, at that time, I mean, those were all free tickets, which will never happen again today, right? But, I saw Bon Jovi for a 101 night. There was 5 people in the club. Culture Club, there was maybe 25. But then, I remember Gary Wright, Dreamweaver, that was a huge one.
Yeah.
Kiss, but people were able to go see a show for, a 101 on Monday and Tuesday nights.
How big is the Agoura?
It was 1,200 seats.
God, and you saw Bruce there. Oh my God.
I did.
Wait, what row were you in?
I was in the first row because my uncle got me in the seat, held the seat for me. And there were tables or what were they called? Those risers coming out from the stage. Yeah. So there was 3 of them and I was the middle and he came out and I can remember I touched his jeans.
Yeah.
Swear to God.
So you were at WMMS in Cleveland, right? The Buzzard, which I think is still around, right? One of the few rock stations that's sort of around. No, Rita?
Yeah, actually, I just talked to John G-Man Gorman, who was my program director. We're still, the best of friends. And I just talked to him today. But he, obviously I was at MMS when, we had Kid Leo.
Yeah.
We had Jeff and Flash in the morning. We had Matt the Cat in the middays. We had Kid Leo in the afternoons, Denny Sanders at night, BLF Bash, overnights. And then there was Dia Stein and Betty Corbin. So those 2 women were, I don't know. Did you ever meet Dia Stein, Rita?
I know of her, but I've never met her. No.
Ah, you love her, dear. Yeah. She's amazing. And Betty was just a hellion. She just passed away recently.
Oh.
Yeah. But so I was at the Agoura, so I got to work with MMS, obviously, and got to know people there. And then I originally went to school to be a probation officer because I wanted to work with juvenile delinquents, right?
What you got in the right business.
Right. And so I got my associate's degree and I got the yellow pages out and I'm calling, to start working with kids, to get them off the wrong road and get them into this wonderful world of a better place. And they said, oh no, you need your master's. And I'm like, what? Oh no. Because I love to learn, but I didn't love school in its, regular form. I like to learn by, I was, I hated sitting in classrooms and doing all the busy work but I loved learning. So I switched to communications and called up MMS. I called up John and I was like, hey, I want an internship. And he was like, okay, come in tomorrow. And I met with everybody and started an internship there. And I just never left.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's it. 3 years. I had a 3-year internship. I really did. And luckily I did it all through school. So I didn't have to worry that much about the money situation, but 3 years of interning and then finally got hired on. So,
yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't think that happens anymore because you're not allowed. I mean, they never paid me a cent. I wasn't complaining. It cost me to go there, but I didn't care. I think I failed all my classes because I went to, I would go to the station and never leave. And then they hired me part-time as the programming, promotion, and community service director. So I did all the PSAs. Wow. I did all the call-out research for call-out research. I called all the record stores to find out what the top-selling albums were, the top-selling singles. And then I, typed up all the giveaways and worked with, on a typewriter with correct type and carbon paper.
Oh, those days.
Oh,
we'll explain that later, kids.
So they paid me $80 a week. And I thought that was,
hey, it was heaven. You found your tribe. You found what sparked you, what made you motivated. After that, you went to a creative talent agency in New York City.
Yes. So this is the radio nightmare that I went through, my first one. So I was at MMS with John Gorman and Kid Leo and Jim Marchison and the whole crew. And John left the station. He was hired away to take over the top 40 station in the same city. This is Cleveland. Okay. So and it was a company out of Detroit. And so he asked me to go with him. So he took me, he took Rhonda Kiefer, who is the music director. He took the engineer, Steve Church. He took, I don't know, Denny Sanders. So half Kid Leo didn't leave. Okay.
Yeah.
And Jeff and Flash didn't leave. So I went with him, but he did a Turbine format. Like we're talking, this is 1986. So Turbine, and I was not a Turbine girl.
What's a Turbine format?
Turbine is like a cross between top 40 and urban.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hence the name Turbine.
Oh, Turbine. I thought you said turban, and I'm like thinking.
Well, Turbine is.
I'm going to keep it clean here. Yeah, thank you.
No.
I don't know. They called it Turbine. I guess, it was before, like what a Power 106 might have been, or what was the station in Phoenix? Hot 90. No, that was New York, Hot 97. So he was trying to do that because he knew he couldn't compete with MMS. He built MMS.
Yeah.
Right. But so that didn't last long, and it exploded. And I walked in one day, and Mike McVeigh was there, changing out all the carts and putting in a classic hits format. And I actually got a call from Jack Snyder from Capitol Records and from Jane Scott, who was the rock writer, the rock writer from the Plain Dealer, saying, "You guys are changing formats." And I was like, "What?" And I had no idea. And so I walk into a meeting, the door was closed, and the owners are there, John's in there. And I'm like, is there something I should know? Meanwhile, I'm like 23. So, I didn't care. So then a friend of mine owned a talent agency that booked Broadway shows in New York City to be an agent. And I was like, sure. So 3 weeks later, I packed up a truck and moved to New York City and booked Broadway shows like the Flying Karamazov Brothers, South Pacific, Bill Irwin, Festival on Ice. And the funny thing, Rita, is they gave me everything west of Illinois. Okay, I didn't know Yakima, Washington. I didn't know there was a Yakima.
And they had a place where you could put a play on or, some sort of show.
Are you booking the tour?
I booked the tours.
Oh.
So I booked the Dorothy Chandler Theater. I got Festival on Ice. That was my claim to fame. Nobody in LA would book this Festival on Ice because it was all the ice skaters and it was done in a proscenium theater. But none of the proscenium theaters wanted to risk, ruining their theater by putting ice on their floors.
So life in New York, girl from Cleveland. What happened after the talent agency?
First day there, going to job, I get bumped on the bus and my whole wallet's taken.
Oh my God.
Yeah, swear to God, it was perfect. I had a banana clip in my hair. I was Madonna, okay? I had pink cowboy boots on, a pink skirt. I was like, pick me. And bumped right into me. And I lost my MMS press pass. I lost all my credit cards, everything. And I was like, oh no. Yeah. So that was fun. But I spent 3 years there and then realized I didn't want to be an agent. Wanted to get back into music and I wanted to work in the record business. I wanted to work records at radio. And I was told, what are you nuts? What are you crazy? They don't hire women. And there were a couple women doing it, Judy LeBeau and Polly Anthony, and probably a few that I'm not thinking of right this minute. So I interviewed at all the big ones, Atlantic, and they said, no, we want you to be our assistant. And I was like, no. Mm. And then I went to I went to Columbia and they wanted me to be an assistant. And then I was at the Cat Club seeing Dan Reed Network and Randy Roberts, who did sales for Polygram. I was talking to him and he said, oh, Polygram is splitting. There's going to be Mercury and Polydor. So you need to call David Leach tomorrow. And, maybe you can get hired there. I was like, okay. So I called them and finally went in for an interview. And it was like months and months. And they flew me out to meet with, Polydor was run by like John Brody, Billy Smith, Wynn Jackson, and Mel DeLatte, all Southern men. Totally different than East Coast Italian.
I thought that was a British company.
It is a UK company.
Oh, it is?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they did things a lot differently. Like they closed their branches and let you as a local person work out of your house.
Oh, nice.
In the late 80s. Yeah.
Wow.
You know how much money they saved?
Oh, yeah.
So,
and you didn't really have a computer system set up
no,
that time.
No
everything was on the phone.
No cell phones. You did have a fax machine, but with that old fashioned paper that
the rolls.
And I mean, I used to pack all my own records. Like I was living in this little apartment and all my records would come and I would have to pack them for each radio station. Jeez. You know, what they were getting, whether it was like what they were listening to or what they were giving away. You know, and at the time when they hired me, they said I had a choice. I could go to Seattle as a local person, Detroit, or Cleveland.
Wow.
So originally I picked Seattle because I was like, I want to go to Seattle. I've never been there, yada, yada, yada. And then I thought about it for a day and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to go to Cleveland because I know everybody. And I mean, I knew all the retailers, I knew the clubs, I knew the promoters, I knew this was back in the day where you had to know the press and like that was your job, really coordinating it all for the artist. And, but then Kid Leo, who was mad at me because I left MMS with Gorman, we're going back now. Mm. So he called up my boss, the people at Polydor and said, if you hire her, I'll never add your record.
No.
Swear to God. And so we worked through it. And I ended up getting hired. But it was like, because I remember Billy Smith calling me and going, we can't hire you. And I was like, why? And he said, Leo won't play our records at MMS. And I was like, what? So, I mean, I called Leo and I'm like, come on, man. Are you kidding me? And so it worked out. But, that's the way the world is sometimes.
There was a lot of that bullshit going on through your career, is there not? It's always, I need you to do this. And in return, you're going to do this for me. And if this doesn't happen, I'm not going to add if we can't present the show for whatever, this band, we're not going to play the record. And it's always give and take. And it's always this tug of war that I remember, you going through and so many, of the same reps in your position. It was always that way.
It was, back in the day you had, it wasn't one company owning all the radio stations or one company owning all the promoters or all the venues so you had to work each station and it was definitely, difficult. I mean, Rita, I don't know if you remember this, but the band Live.
I remember.
Okay. And so I was the head of rock and alternative promotion for MCA. Yeah. Right. I was the vice president. So I had somebody that handled alternative for, that worked day to day. But overall, like I was supposed to be in charge of handling heavy metal, college, the whole rock world. But at the time when Live was out, alternative was, it was not what it is today. But Kevin Weatherly was at K-Rock. So I was on the way to Mark and Brian with Live. And Kevin called up Gary Kurfürst, who owned their label, which was a subsidiary of MCA, and said if we walked in the door to do Mark and Brian's morning show, that Kevin was going to drop all the records. Yeah. And I remember Carrie Kurloff was the program director then, and I'm getting out of the car with the band, and I'm really, the band doesn't know what to do,
What are you going to do? I mean, at that particular time, because, K-Rock was the top dog. And if they called for something, they got it. I mean, that's just the way the world works.
But that's because he knew Gary Kurfürst. Gary Kurfürst told me I couldn't call Kevin, because if I would have called Kevin. Yeah. I mean, I knew Kevin from when he was in Phoenix and then in San Diego before he got to K-Rock. Right. He wouldn't have done that to me. Yeah. Or I would have fought him on it. Whereas the other guy was afraid to, see, because he was afraid he was going to lose his whatever. Yeah. So that was always the for me, I always would walk into a market because I came from radio. I really, cared about the stations, number one. Yeah. And I really cared about the artists. And, there was a way to deal with everybody, And you had to have somebody break the record, and it wasn't going to be the same station every time. Right. Somebody had to play it first, right? And then and the artist should be able to work with everybody, but the guy that played him first, always would get a little bit of,
and had the momentum about him. And, plus, I mean, theoretically, the way that K-Rock worked, it was different than the way KLOS worked. KLOS was still playing new music at that time, but we were kind of settling into that classic rock kind of mentality at that time. We were, definitely playing a lot of great music at that time, and I felt so bad for you. I mean, I saw you and it was just like, this is not her. Yeah. She's not doing this. This is somebody.
I know, but I felt bad. I mean, that was probably one of the saddest days. I mean, it still will hurt my heart.
Yeah. But we got to look at the bigger picture of what it was. We didn't control those things, and people above us did. And like you said, had you, had he not gone to the record company, the head of the label, you would have been able to work it out with him. Just say like, hey, Kevin, come on. It's a great band. Let's break them,
But because your audience was completely different, really. I mean, you shared an audience, but it was still different. Yeah.
That happened with Dishwalla. I mean, we loved Dishwalla, and nobody else would play them. I mean, Kevin never played that record, Counting Blue Cars.
Who else did? I think we brought Sammy Hagar to you guys. We brought, Yes. I think John Anderson, Southside Johnny.
Southside Johnny. I'm trying to think.
Neil Schon. He was with Hardline. This was like Journey had kind of fallen away, and he started his own band on MCA. I know.
Yeah. I forget that one.
There was one that had initials. I forgot that one too.
HSAS, which was Hagar, Schon, Aaron, and
I don't remember
something else.
Yeah.
But he was not a happy guy during Hardline.
Yeah. I don't know.
That was tough. And then Glenn Fry.
Oh yeah. Glenn Fry you brought to Disneyland on one of our trips there. He rode, what was that? The rocket launch, not the rocket launcher, rocket rider, which is kind of a crap rocket rods, kind of like a stupid ride.
Because it lasted about 3 months and then closed, and it's been closed ever since.
Come on, you got this guy, it's an Eagle, he's got a new album out, and it's on the softer side, but it's, it's still a big name and stuff like that. And working with all those individuals that you did, are there stories that you don't want to talk about because they're just so bad? But more importantly, are there stories that you can talk about that are good, that bring?
I was extremely lucky. I mean, I don't have any horror stories. I have wonderful stories, like working with Meatloaf, going on the road, breaking Bat Out of Hell too. Meatloaf was another artist that played at the Agoura Ballroom that knew my family, that, knew my grandparents. And then to be at MCA, 20 years later and being able to relaunch Bat Out of Hell and go on the road with them. I mean, for like 3 months, it was craziness where, we went to Yankee Stadium. He wanted to sing the national anthem at Yankee Stadium, right? So that was my job, to get him into Yankee Stadium singing the national anthem. I did it. And you would have thought like that was the highlight of his life at the time.
Wow.
And
he was a big, huge baseball fan, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Huge.
Well, that's the whole song,
Yeah.
It had
Paradise
but Dashboard Light.
Yeah. Phil Rizzuto calling the play. Yeah. I mean, that's classic stuff. Yeah.
I can tell you stories about Michael Schenker and, MSG. Where we were at Tower Records. It was raining, cats and dogs outside. They were doing an in-store. He was playing acoustic. He would not open the doors until somebody got him an iron and a full-length mirror. I had to run over to Thrifty's across the street in the pouring. I'm like, Michael, we have to open the doors. It's like a monsoon out there. Okay, here's your iron. Here's your, full-length mirror. And, he did great. But it was just like those funny little silly things where you're like, oh, my God. And they were like catastrophic at the time. And I think about them now going, oh, my God.
You were in charge of solving every problem out there and not being a road manager to have your backup and things like that. You're kind of just flying at the seat of your pants sometimes during these things.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is like, because I grew up the way I grew up, I don't know, maybe I was just really good at being having empathy and trying to understand. I don't know. I was good with addicts because a lot of them were dealing with addiction issues that you didn't even know about at the time.
Right.
But, I remember Ivan Neville, I was picking him up to go on the road and I'm waiting for him at the airport and he's not getting off the plane. Like, where is he? I don't know. So back in those days, I was able to get on the plane to find him and he's,
passed out.
The plane is ready to leave to go to the next city and he's asleep. He's asleep or whatever, And meanwhile, I've got a full day of activities planned. And
then your bosses are yelling at you. Well, why was there a delay? Why didn't you get the ad at such and such a station in Ohio? And then what about that station in Arkansas? But what about LA and working with some of those people? I don't know how you did it. Oh my God.
Yeah. Monday and Tuesdays were always a challenge, but you know what? I still talk to some, I still talk to Lee Arnold. I still talk to, a few people, Kat Thomas. I'm trying to think, Buzz Knight still. There's still people that I'm good friends with that, that understood what we were all doing and knew that we were all doing our job. And the good, I was lucky because I came from radio. So I never had to deal with a lot of, I was respected, and I was able to help the stations because I was a promotion director. So,
I would
listen.
Of it.
I would say, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't, I was helpful to them because I was just a radio geek, working records now. So,
but I'm sure that experience really helped you.
It did. I would have never been able to do it had I not had the experience that I did at MMS. Yeah. So it was fun.
Who were some of your favorite bands to work with?
Meatloaf, number one. Patti Smythe. It was incredible.
Patty's
married to John McEnroe.
John McEnroe. Yeah. She met him when I worked her record when she did Love. Sometimes Love Just Ain't Enough, which was the duet with Don Henley.
Yeah.
And she's just genius in the sense of taking her to radio. Because you had those artists that you would bring into a radio station and, you'd get them all hyped up. You'd tell them all about it. And then they'd walk in the room and it would be like, then there'd be the ones where they'd walk in and it was like fire. So Patty was like that. Meatloaf was like that. Sash Jordan was like that. She's a Canadian artist.
Yeah. I remember lots of stuff you guys did with Sash Jordan. And Sass, is she the one that was working with Taylor Hawkins also?
Yes. Taylor was her drummer. So she before he went with Alanis, she found him and Taylor, when we went on the road with Raps, which was the second album, Taylor was her drummer. So I had met him and known, but I know that's just like.
Yeah. And then Alanis. Yeah. I remember saying.
And then Alanis and then David, did you read David's book?
I haven't yet. I bought it, but I haven't read it yet. Yeah.
The relationship between the two of them really, you'll have a lot of, the two of them, they grew up the same time we did. So a lot of the music and a lot of the experiences are things that we experienced. So the connection was really strong. So I was really sad to hear that. I mean, addiction is just horrible. And, Nikki, he does a lot to really help with those that are battling. Nikki Sixx. Because I got to work with Motley.
Okay.
When they left Elektra, was working with Ellen. And so Nikki was always just really, really smart, really worked hard, really cared. And so they're getting ready to hit the road now too.
With a huge tour.
And then, it's like, but I thought they retired, but I'll let that slide.
So
it's like,
right.
it can.
Money is a tough
And right now it's, that's the only way that many of these bands can make a living is going out on the road, because you probably know all about merchandising and what the artist makes and what the venue takes. And then that's how most of them made their money, not through record sales. And you definitely don't get it through record sales these days. It's like, I don't know how bands really start and make it anymore,
Well, they're doing it on their own. So they're not paying, I'm sorry, they don't need the gatekeepers anymore. And I'm actually coming from that world and watching it today. And watching what I went to the Cruel World Festival with Blondie and all the 80s bands, which weren't my favorites. I loved Blondie, but a lot of the other bands I was like, but I wanted to see how it was put on. And wow. It's just like crazy. All the meet and greets we used to do with winners and all the, sound check parties and all those things that we used to do for free.
All paid. And it's a lot of money. Yeah.
I was just sitting next to a guy in a little area because I was able to get a ticket to sit in an area, the VP guest area, but not the way VP area, just the normal one.
The P area.
Yeah,
which you're thankful for sometimes, that P area.
No,
especially at the Rose Bowl.
Yes,
right. He paid $500 per ticket.
Oh my God!
For him and his girlfriend.
Wait, did he get a meet and greet out of it with somebody?
No, there's no meet and greet.
Oh. He just paid $500 just to sit in
to sit in this. It was just a grassy area that had,
Oh my
that's
God!
It. No drinks. No, nothing autographed, nothing. I was like, oh my God.
Thank God it was all before this pay stuff, because none of this would happen with radio. All these meet and greets or like you said, the sound check parties. We used to go and we'd take 30 or 40 or 50 winners to go watch the band perform the sound check or something.
And that's a once in a lifetime thing that you can't get from anywhere else except from your favorite radio station.
I know. That was the best thing ever.
And now it's $1,000 to go sit at a sound check and then get kicked out for 2 hours while, till the band goes back on again.
And I love shows, but I can't afford it.
Yeah. I know. I was looking at Greta Van Fleet. They were playing. It's like, I'll go see him. Because, whether
where were
or not
they playing?
This was at the Honda. So it was like, big show. And it was like, I want seats close to the stage, but, not that far, not that expensive. But I go on and it's $600. And I go, no, I want to enjoy your show. And I'm not going to spend $600 to see a band that's still on the up and up making it,
$600. What'd you get?
I didn't.
Did you? Oh,
I didn't go. Yeah. No, that just pissed me off so much that it was just like,
who can afford that?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are putting them on credit cards, and it's going to come back to haunt them later. Because again, you look at some of these prices and they're unbelievable. What's interesting to me is the Foo Fighters show, the Taylor Hawkins Foo Fighters show. So one in London.
I want to go.
So the one in London, I looked up the tickets yesterday, and there were US, they're about around $200 a ticket or something. But the service charge is like $30. Now here, that service charge is going to be $60 or $80.
And the ticket's going to be more than that too.
Yeah.
You can
Have you looked up have they not released those dates? I did get an email, but I didn't look. I want to go though.
Yeah, the price. I haven't seen the LA prices. I've only seen the European prices. That everything's listed. You can't buy them yet, but it's all listed, and the service charge, everything's listed up there. And it's only like, I don't know, what do they use now? Pounds? They're back to pounds. So it's like 15 pounds, which is maybe $18 to $20 for a service charge.
Yeah. And since the economy's in such a flux all over the world, it's like, who knows, what that's going to be when it comes around next year to Bruce Springsteen. I got Bruce Springsteen on the brain. I'm sorry. Gina, you were talking a little bit about being a prominent female in the industry, in an industry that is, let's be honest, dominated by men. I mean, there's more and more women that are getting into positions like in radio. It's, you see a lot of now sales managers that are women, which is great, but you don't see that many program directors. You don't see that many general managers. But it's that way in all the companies. And how big is the fight still for equality? Pay raise is not the same.
Well, I can tell you when, Bruce Tenenbaum is the guy that promoted me to, I was the first vice president of rock promotion at a record company, which was pretty cool, and he gave me this big office, and, I'd have done it for half of what he paid me, but I ended up working. I had two men that worked underneath me who had been there and were the bosses. And then and I was 26. So I think about it now going, oh, wow, they must have been really mad. But at the time, I just felt really lucky. Was I getting what my male counterpart was getting in the other? No, not at all. Mm-mm.
And you probably worked harder than most of them too.
I think everybody works hard, but I don't think there should be any reason why we shouldn't get paid the same amount if we're doing the same job, And I think I have 3 daughters, and they won't put up with it at all. They think completely different than we were raised. You get you kind of you're a chameleon, man. You dance, you kind of do what you got to do, and you don't make too many waves. And you should feel lucky for what you have. But they are much more outspoken, and they, just in their relationships and their work relationships, they don't think the same way that we did. And I think that's a good thing.
That's an awesome thing, because they're gonna change the world.
But I was really lucky to work for some cool guys that really treated me well. And, Alan Kovac was great to work for. Bruce was great to work for. Everybody, I don't have any horror stories. There's a few radio stories, but we don't need to really, because all the program directors were men, and, you're out at shows, it's late, they've had a little to drink, but, most of, a couple of times things would, and I'd look at them going, what are you even thinking? So if you said that, and people back down. So I was never put in a position where it was a dangerous or, dangerous. It might've been uncomfortable, but it was
even that sucks. Dangerous.
I know, but in that day, it was, it was normal.
Thank God that you knew how to handle yourself, though.
That's the rationalization. It was normal.
It was. Yeah. And luckily, I wasn't getting drunk and I didn't do drugs. I was just not something that was ever, it was all around me, but I never really participated.
How bad do you want this ad? It's like, I don't want it that bad. Yeah, no.
Never.
Don't take my, dignity and my integrity. And
I don't.
The thing there are so many great men in the business. All the men gave me my opportunities to work in radio and to move up the ladder and stuff like that. And I have immense respect for every one of them. And I still keep in contact with all of the ones that were awesome.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's great to have that. Let's go to the bonus round.
Gina,
where are we going?
We're going to the bonus round.
Get ready, Gina.
Ooh.
This is where it's going to be really intense questions.
And you have 20 seconds to answer.
Or you can have more.
Yeah.
Who would you want to meet you never met?
David Bowie.
Did you ever get to see him live?
Actually, I'm going to take that back. Prince.
Oh, wow. Did you get to see Prince?
I did get to see David Bowie. No, I never saw Prince.
Wow.
And actually, Lisa Jansen, who was Sash Jordan's manager, worked for Prince for many years. She's actually coming out here July 2nd. So we're going to hang out for a little while. But no, I never got to meet Prince. I would like to meet Prince.
Yeah. What's your coolest piece of memorabilia that you're most proud of?
Ooh. My picture of John Waite. And
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
The one that was in the photo you sent me, like from 1970, 83.
Yeah. Was that Bad English time?
No, that was solo
Actually,
time.
It was just, it was
Wasn't
solo,
it?
right?
Okay.
After
Babies.
Babies.
He was doing an MMS Appreciation Day show. Yeah.
He's such a sweet guy. I love him.
I was in charge of him for the day.
That's great.
Who was the first rock star you met?
Tom Jones.
Did you throw your panties on stage?
No, I was 9. I went with my mother. And I went with my godmother. And he picked a kid out of the, little girl out of the thing to sit up and go on stage. That was me.
That was you? Oh my God.
I got to work Tom Jones later in life. at Polydor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know. I told, yeah.
Wait, did you tell him the story? You had to have told him the story.
I know. No.
You didn't?
No, I didn't get to hang with Tom. Like I never got to go on a promo tour with Tom. Like, can you imagine what that would have been like?
Yeah. It's crazy. Insane.
That would have been awesome. I love Tom.
The women would have been ripping out your hair. Yeah, we need to get see
And then the show after that was Gary Wright at the Agoura, and then Kiss.
Yeah.
At the Coliseum.
Kiss. What was your worst experience ever? Or did we already talk about that?
My worst experience, probably, as I said, the one with Live, really, that was a really bad experience because I felt so bad because I was so close with everybody at KLOS. I was so close with the band, and especially Mark and Brian. I mean, I loved them. I just thought they were great, radio jocks.
Yeah.
Did you get kicked out for that? Did you get banned from the station? I know sometimes.
I didn't. You know what? When they saw me and my face, and nobody banned me. I banned myself. Nobody had to ban me. I felt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, they didn't have. No, Carrie was still cool. You were still cool. I was embarrassed, I think, but
it was
but nobody
not your
banned
fault.
me.
Yeah,
because they knew it. Yeah. No, that was Let me think if there's anything. Oh, I have a really good one. I'm on the road with LA Guns, and we're on the road to Santa Barbara to go see, what was his name? Dung Inghold at K-Tide.
K-Tide, yeah.
And I'm in a rental car, and the tires blow out. We're on the 101, and I got Tracy and Phil with me, and we're sitting there. They're in their leather, but, they look fabulous. Yeah. They're all ready to do their radio thing. I'm trying to call AAA. We're almost late for the. Tracy gets out and changes my tire on my rental car. So that was actually not a bad story. That was a good story. But I remember I was like mortified. We did make it to K-Tide in time.
What are you doing now? It sounds like a really very cool thing.
I live in SLO County. And when I left the music
that would be
business,
San Luis Obispo, for those of you that are out of SLO County.
It could be Sloth County too, couldn't it? Sloth.
And I'm a part owner of a company called Parks Management Company. So we manage and operate recreation facilities within California. So the Los Padres National Forest. If you're going to go camping in Big Sur or in Santa Barbara or in Ojai, most of those facilities that have fire pits and picnic tables where you're going to reserve your reservations for, that our company, we clean them. We supply all the people that work there. We take care of all the trash and the trees and the restrooms, and that's what we do.
The other part sounded more glamorous, just being in nature and stuff like that. But
you go to the porta potty.
Right. Someone's got to, take out
the
trash, and someone's got to clean the toilets. My kids were really lucky. Like they got to live in Big Sur in the summertime, and it's the best place in the world. So I'm extremely lucky to have been able to raise my girls. And now my oldest is 25, my twins are 20. And so it's like, okay, what's the next chapter? Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Do I go back into the music business? Well, if I do, what is it that I'd want to do? Because I don't work in the day-to-day of the company every day. So,
but that's the thing though. It's like, could you even go back now? The way that it is, it's bad. It's
right,
bad.
But I think I don't know, that's what I've been told, that it's bad. But I think, what we could bring in our spirit and in our experience might be a good thing.
Yeah, you would think.
It's a positive way to look at it, Gina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very positive. But whatever it's going to be, it's going to be great because, you've always been, a self-determined starter of many things in your career and stuff like that. And we have immense respect for you. And that's why we wanted to make sure that you were part of this so you could tell us all sorts of good stories and stuff.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here, to be honest with you. I was like, really?
Yes.
But I appreciate it.
All right.
Well, a pleasure seeing you again. And
all right. Good to see
with
you too.
And you take care
Thank
of yourself.
you.
Thanks, Gina.
Right.
Take care.
Lovely.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
It was fun reminiscing with Gina, and especially that live event, which I do remember.
Oh, yeah.
Which was very sad.
It's just politics gets in the way of, any good business. And, it happened in the music business.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So we survived it. And thank God Gina did. And, very happy for her with all her daughters and, doing what she wants.
Yeah. And she lives in a nice place in Slow County. And you know what? She's very peaceful. Unlike you or I.
Hey, how was your 4th of July?
I felt like I felt like a target, in the old shooting gallery, just like trying to dodge everything, trying to get home at 8:30 and everything's already blowing up.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It was insane. Hey, Gina runs lots of camping sites. And if you would like to check that out, you can just go to camp1.com.
Also, check out our show notes. We do it every show. We put them up on our website, which is rockandrollconfessional.rocks. There you can find links to some of the subjects Gina spoke about in the interview, along with some information on the Agoura Ballroom and some videos of some of Gina's favorite bands and events.
Ooh, wonder if Bruce is on there. I got to go check it out.
Yeah, I didn't find Bruce. I'm sorry to say.
Okay.
I did my research. Couldn't find Bruce, and I couldn't find her standing next to Tom Jones. So
Tom Jones. Yeah. Hey, you can support the podcast by subscribing wherever you can, writing a review, following and commenting on Instagram and Facebook, and sharing our posts with your friends.
That's right. If you got friends, we got friends. So share. This is a new thing, man. Just share it out.
Just share.
Yeah.
Share it up.
Where you can.
And that's right.
That's all. That's all we got. I got nothing more. Not now.
Keep rocking.
Yep.
Keep
We'll see you all later.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.